This is all about establishing hedges. I so often see somebody's planted a hedge line and you've got 1, 2, 3 odd dead hedge plants in a row. And it's so infuriating because then when you come and replant them the next year, hello darling, when you replant them the next year, the new incomer has to fight within the plants that are getting established. So it's even more difficult to keep them alive. So you tend not to get this nice uniform shape. So these are my top tips for establishing, and we're now towards the end of June, and this is when I really start thinking about this. Now you might think that's odd because most people will be trying to plant September, October, November, depending on whether it's deciduous or evergreen. But actually, the most important thing, I think, in the success of establishing a hedgerow is getting it weed-free to start with. So what I do come June, July, when I know where I'm going to plant my hedges, I will actually kill off the grass or whatever's growing there to make sure the strip, 1 metre wide at least, is completely weed free on planting. And I'll do that either by using glyphosate, and I noticed I got 1 or 2 comments about using glyphosate before, but I have done I have done a YouTube video on glyphosate. I have researched it thoroughly, and you can understand my reasons for using it if you watch that video. But if you don't want to, I'm not forcing everyone to do it, obviously I couldn't do that, but the other options are putting black polythene down or some sort of carpet or some sort of mulch. But the problem with that is that the perennial weeds will take longer than 3 months to kill, whereas if you use a chemical like glyphosate, then they will be pretty much dead by the time you come to plant. And you might have to do a touch-up spray if you don't get them all. So I do 1 spray first and then another to get any that I missed, and I invariably do miss the odd bit, even me who's got my professional spray exams. But anyway, your objective is to get that weed free, and usually it's from grass. And don't dig it over. Just really don't dig the soil over before you plant a hedge. I mean, when I read the old-fashioned books, they dug big trenches out to a depth of 500 millimeters, half a yard deep, really wide, and they put in loads of organic matter in the bottom and loads of soil. But all the current research says that you really do not want to make a artificially false, rich bit of soil where the hedge is, because you want them to establish out into the soil, because those hedge roots will go right out either side, and you want them out in there, not kept in that tiny trench, relatively speaking. So get it weed free. Now the other options are, you can use these mulch mats for hedges that are sort of strips that you plant your hedges through, or black polythene, and you plant it through slits in the black polythene. That's fine, but I find that if you do that, the couch grass, the bindweed and everything will come up between those gaps. So I don't find that very satisfactory. But so what I do is I kill off the grass or whatever's growing there. I then plant my hedge, and we'll talk about that in a minute, within the soil as it is existing. And then I put a drip irrigation system along the top. Sometimes, not always. If I'm planting here at home, I've never bothered to. If I'm planting a small size hedge, if I'm planting it in a client's garden and they're not on it with watering, or they're very impatient, then I will do that. And make sure it's a commercial grade irrigation. You want one with drip emitters all the way along the hose, so you have the same pressure at one end of the hose as you do at the other. That's really important. And then, having planted the hedge, I will put on a mulch, a nice thick mulch, and it won't be farmyard manure, because I do find there's so many perennial weeds in that, it's more of a problem. So it'll be something like a bark mulch, or it will be digestate, or it will be black waste or green waste from local authorities, or it'll be my own compost if it's weed free. And that will stop the annual weeds pretty much germinating into it. That doesn't mean to say that you can just plant it and forget about it. You will need to do the odd check weeding to keep it weed free. And remember, this is the best bit of information that will really help you, is if you plant a tree or a hedge plant and there's no competition from grass or weeds, that will grow 60 to 70% faster than if it's competing with weeds. And that's because the weeds will take the moisture out of the soil. And that goes for the first 3 to 4 years. After that point, the roots are down and out there and they'll manage and it will be okay. But for those first 3 to 4 years, really keep it weed free. Now, on the first hedge I planted here up the drive, so when we came, the farmer had a very bitty Leyland cypress hedge up the drive. Some had grown and some had not. So some were giants and some were gaps. And it's his driveway, we just have a right of way, so I asked him if I could remove it and plant a native hedge. And we opted for hornbeam because he didn't want hawthorn because of the prickles in the branches affecting the tractor tyres that come up his side of the drive. So we opted for hornbeam, and on one stretch, the first stretch up to the house, what I did is I dug my trench. I then got a whole newspaper, literally 10 sheets thick or whatever. I soaked it in a bucket of water. I put it at the bottom of the trench to line the base of the trench, put in a bit of soil and then pop the hedge in. And it was extraordinary actually, because that first section of the hedge where I did that, and that was a good 20-30 metres, grew and established a lot better than the rest of the drive. Maybe twice as fast it grew. None of it had irrigation. And that newspaper acted as a wick, obviously. So when it was initially soaked, so that initial water would have got it going to start with. And then when it rained, it sort of retained the water a bit. And then now, obviously, it will have rotted away after 5, 6, 7 years. But obviously, that's a pretty dumb tip for nowadays, because who has newspapers? But if you have a newspaper, that might be a useful thing for you to do. So then you say, how big do you plant your hedge? Because you can buy instant hedges that come in sort of 1.8 metre high panels, 2 metres long, and you measure it like a ribbon from somewhere like Elvedon Hedges, and it comes in these troughs where they patented the design of them, the troughs, which they grow in fields. They lift them up, transport them on a lorry, and you plop them in. And it's very easy to plant, and it works really well, but they're expensive. And they do deciduous, evergreen, tons of different varieties. Otherwise, you can do individual big hedging plants as opposed to small hedging plants. And that again is more expensive, obviously. And the way I generally do it, if I'm doing something like Taxus baccata, which is probably the hedge I most commonly plant, I will probably plant it 1 to 1.2 metres high in clients' gardens. In my own gardens, I often propagate it myself from cuttings, tiny little things. But that size, and I plant them so they're instantly touching. I just ask the supplier, W Nurseries or whoever I'm using, and I say, how many do I need to fill a 20-metre run so they're touching? Because they vary, every batch varies. And he will say, you'll need X plants, so we order X plants and we pop them in. And usually with something like an evergreen plant, it will either be container grown or more likely root balled. So I most oftenly specify root ball, so it comes in a root ball with maybe with hessian around it, maybe not, which you just leave on and it rots away. And it can be bare rooted. Very occasionally you can be bare rooted, and that can be successful if you're on it and you water as necessary. But basically, container grown plants are always more expensive, and they will always establish better pretty much from root ball or bare root. Bear that in mind. So don't go for the most expensive option, because the roots stay in that container and they tend not to go out so much, whereas if they're in a root ball or bare root, they get out there. And with deciduous hedging plants like hornbeam, beech and things, unless you're buying the real whoppers, they will tend to be bare root. Bigger sizes, when you get to the sort of 1.5 metres and so on, they will be root balled or container grown. Same applies to container grown. So you pay your price, and normally with clients, they have no clue how much something's going to cost. And so I just get a quote for the smallest, the biggest and the in-between, and then they can just judge it for themselves. But don't always assume that going for the the bigger size gives you a quicker hedge, because if you look after it well, a smaller one will catch up. I always remember my mum saying when she was about 65 that she wasn't going to plant a yew hedge to hide the tennis court because it would take too long. She wanted to use a non-native, fast-growing coniferous hedge like Lawson cypress or something similar. And I'm saying, rubbish, yew is really quick, plant a yew. And it did. The yew, if you keep it watered when it's dry, if you're on a free draining soil, it will really motor on, even in the first year. And you'll often get extension growths that sort of length, a good sort of 300 mil. So they will grow massively. So just bear that in mind. Now, some things can impede growth. So it can be bad drainage. And so if you're on a wet, heavy soil with you, plant it on a slight mound, and that will help it drain, and that's really good method. You may want to actually put in drainage, but that is obviously a lot more costly to do that. And another thing that impedes growth, particularly with holly, is if you're a very windswept site. Now, holly is a sort of second-tier coastal defence plant, meaning that it will take second-line defence of coastal winds, which are really quite extreme. But even so, to get a holly hedge to establish quickly, you want to give it some shelter. I find if I put up that shelter netting just by it to lift and filter the winds, it will make it grow much faster. So just consider that. You can probably put it in with canes or road pins and just pin it in temporarily. Put this windscreen. There are lots of them available on the internet, or you could even use sort of sacking bags or something, and that will really help it establish. Don't forget you've got a plant out of the nursery where it's probably growing in a lovely protected costive environment with irrigation, perfect conditions. You're maybe cutting the roots out to lift it as a root ball. You're then putting it into an alien site, and those roots haven't got into the ground. So you want to help reduce the transpiration while the roots get down and out there, and just give it a bit of cosseting. And if it looks like it's drying up in a really hot spring, maybe put some shade netting over the top as well. Watch it. As with anything, the shadow of the garden is the best fertiliser. Watch it. Watch how it's responding, and then do something about it. If it looks like it's not thriving, then do it quickly. And then as to rows, how many rows of hedging plants do you plant? How far apart? So if I'm being impatient and I want a nice thick yew hedge, sometimes we've done 3 rows, 3 parallel rows like that, really thick, but it bulks up so much quicker. And I would normally put them in, if I'm planting small and I'm being patient, about 50 centimetres apart. So I'll have 3 to a metre run or a yard run. And I might do a double staggered row, so I'll have one plant 50 centimetres, another plant 50 centimetres, another plant, and then the corresponding row, those other plants will go in between those, and if it's 3, you repeat the stagger on the other side. I might do a single row. If I'm going for metre touching, I'll just do a single row probably. And with a deciduous hedge, native hedge, I'll again do 4 per metre run, usually a double staggered row, mixing up my species. So I'll have 3 hazel, 4 holly, 6 viburnum, whatever plants grow naturally well in that area. So spacing, and the disadvantage of tighter spacing if you're impatient is putting them closer than 50 centimetres, is they're going to take more moisture when it's very dry. So if you've got irrigation, that's not a problem. And then the other thing with tighter spacing is that when you've got lots of competition and you're not giving them enough water, 1 or 2 plants will thrive and the others look a bit miserable. You get very uneven growth. So check out what's happening and then address the balance accordingly. And then I wouldn't, having put them in weed-free ground, plant them as early in the autumn as you can, so that you've got a nice lot of growth before we have the droughts in the spring, so the roots can get down there. They will only start lifting bare roots probably in the UK around sort of end of October, November. So that will be your limiting factor there. Plant them early, water them in if it's dry, put a mulch on straight away, a nice thick 50 mil mulch to keep the weeds away, right out to either side. So probably a trench a metre wide, a strip a metre wide is necessary, quite a lot. Then you've got to think about pests. You know, if you've got deer. So we planted some yew on a new site recently, and there's deer coming out of the woods all around it in a very rural location. So there, because fencing would be too expensive, we've put on trico, which is something made from some product from sheep. I think it's from their wool or something. And you spray it on, and that you apply apparently twice a year, and that is been working really well. If it's rabbits, you might want to put spiral guards around them. But I find with hawthorn and other plants like that, you can use any plant for hedging really that regoes after clipping. So sometimes if rabbits come and they nibble it down to the ground, you might well find that it just branches out and comes right back up again. So you often see hedgerow plants in the countryside, and they've covered them with strips all the way through, and it looks like a massive plastic strips, and you can hardly see the hedge. But I do find that sometimes they grow back out of it really quite well, and you get much bushier plants. So that's protection. So then I suppose probably the final thing is when do you start cutting? You've got your hedging, you're impatient, you want to get it cut as quickly as you can so you form a nice hedge type plant. And that is important, you know. So even in the first year, that hedge hopefully will put on lots of new growth out to the sides, up to the top, and you want to clip it. So I often just do, if it's a small hedge, I'll often just do it with secateurs or hedge cutters like I used in the last video. And I will just quickly trim up the sides, because everywhere you cut, they will branch. And you don't want that hedge with that sort of bare bottom look when no one's cut it at all to start with, and so it's all grown upwards and you've got no growth at the bottom. That, you know, if you prune the bottoms, then obviously that will encourage it to bush out. So not only do you prune the sides, but I also prune in between the hedge plants. So where you've got one hedge plant touching up to a next one, if you've got a little gap, if you prune down the middle of the hedge, that will make them grow. Growth follows the knife, so they'll bush out and they'll form a continuous line much, much quicker. Obviously, if it's a cloudbroom hedge and you want bobbles, then you're going to prune those into bobble shapes, probably of different sizes and shapes along the way. And that's great, because you don't have to be an expert at that. You know, you don't have to get the dead straight lines and things. You can just do it in a very informal, irregular fashion, depending on how you want your cloud pruned hedge. And then when you start clipping the top, well, I usually do take a few whispers off the top as well, because I find that does help bush it out at the top. Different views on this. I know at Elvedon, where they grow those hedges, I think they told me they don't take the top out till it's about a foot within the required height. So if they want it to be a 1.8 metre hedge, they won't start clipping the top until it's something like 1.5. But different people have different techniques for this, so I don't think it's that critical. One big mistake I made earlier on in my life is I took cuttings from a yew hedge, and I took cuttings from the side of the yew hedge. So obviously these side cuttings tend to grow outwards, and the top cuttings, at the top of the hedge, grow upwards. So my yew hedge was very branchy, and I had to actually sort of stake the leaders to get it to grow upright. So if you are going to do it from cuttings, and yew is probably, maybe some people might find it difficult, but it's not really. But certain hedges like laurel and things like that, and rosa, are very easy from cuttings. I'm just trying to think of other good examples, but many hedging types are easy from cuttings or from seed, so you might want to do it yourself. It's really satisfying. It takes a wee bit longer, but obviously far, far cheaper. I think I've covered most things in hedges, but if you're thinking of redesigning your garden, get out the plan, work out where you're going to put them, get the ground ready now, kill off the grass, don't dig it over. If you dig it over, you're just going to cut up the perennial weeds and make them worse. You're going to propagate them. You're going to bring new weed seeds to the surface. Don't bother to dig big trenches. You know, it's so much easier my way, and I promise you it works far better. All modern research says that. And just make the most of hedges. They are, I think, the best and can be the most exciting feature in a garden.